Good day to you. I hope everyone is doing well today during this COVID pandemic that we're all dealing with. So please stay safe. My name is Taiwo Olalere. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer in Ottawa. I'm also a law partner at Olalere Law Office, a Canadian immigration law firm. We've been operating for over 15 years in Canada, dealing with immigration matters, visitors visas, study visas, permanent residence visa, work permits, all kinds of immigration issues. Even we deal with appeals, we deal with federal court matters, litigation, sponsorships, we deal with that too. But today I'll be talking about study visa application. How do you package a study visa application? How do you put your application package together so that you have a better chance of getting approval? Most people are refused for common mistakes. But if your application is well packaged, then it's likely to succeed. So what do I look for as a visa officer? If I'm a visa officer, what would I look out for? The first thing I'll be looking for is your letter of acceptance. Letter of acceptance is the key element because it tells the visa officer what you're coming to do in Canada. Are you coming to study a 1-year program, a 2-year program, a 3-year program, or a 4-year program? The letter of acceptance is also called an admission letter. An admission letter. Most people in Africa or in the Middle East call it admission letter, but in Canada we call it letter of acceptance. Your letter of acceptance must be from a designated learning institution. What do I mean by that? The government has approved the school and given it a designated learning institution number. So when you look at the letter of acceptance, you look at it at the very top. It's usually at the very top. Sometimes it's at the bottom. You have to look for the DLI number, designated learning institution number. Why is this important? I'll tell you why. If you don't have a DLI number, your application will be refused. That's why it's very important to have a DLI number. Every school that is approved for Canada has a DLI number. Don't forget that. Make sure you first ask before you even send in your application to that school or pay an application fee. You have to make sure they have a DLI number. So if they provide you their DLI number, then you can be rest assured it's an approved school by Immigration Canada. So when you have the letter of acceptance, take a look at it. Make sure all your details are correct. Your name is properly spelled. It matches your travel passport. Your date of birth is correct. Your program of studies is there. The fee that you're going to be paying is there. How much is the tuition fee? You have to make sure it's the correct tuition fee. Okay? So the tuition fee may be 16,000 and the school asks you to pay 8,000 upfront. If they ask you to pay 8,000 upfront and you're able to pay the 16,000, I always tell people to pay the 16,000 because it definitely shows that you are able to afford your tuition fees. If they see proof that you've paid 1-year tuition fee, definitely you're a serious student. But if you can't afford to pay the 16,000 right away because of currency exchange issues or foreign currency exchange limitations, at least pay the one that the school have requested of you to pay by the deadline. Also, when I'm looking at the letter of acceptance, I look at what you've done in the past. So if you studied Bachelor of Business Administration in your past, maybe in your country of origin. When I'm looking at the letter of acceptance, is it a program that is related to what you have previously studied? Is it complementary? So if you're going to be doing agriculture now and you previously studied business administration, I'm looking at it, how does that complement each other? That's one of the things the visa officer will be looking at. So if it complements each other, it makes it a little bit easier going through the application because the officer will definitely know that you're trying to pursue your studies or further your studies, your line of studies. But if it's not complementary, then it raises questions, it raises alarms. If it's not complementary, you have to explain why you're pursuing agriculture instead of maybe a postgraduate diploma in business studies or business informatics, for example. So if it's not complementary, make sure you provide an explanation why you're choosing that particular program and why you're deviating. Is it a change in career, or is it because you have work experience in agriculture? That's why you decided to go and do postgraduate diploma in agriculture so that it can complement your previous work experience. So make sure there's a link between your previous studies and the one that you want to go and pursue in Canada. That's number 2. Number 3, I'll be looking at whether you have proof of funds. Can you afford the education you're trying to pursue in Canada? Can you pay the tuition fees? If the tuition fees is 16,000, how much do you have in your bank account? Or how much does your sponsor have in their bank account? So the tuition fee, at least the sponsor must be able to demonstrate that they can pay for those tuition fees. Okay? And of course, when you're paying for your tuition fees, you have to demonstrate that you're able to pay for your living expenses too. So you yourself have to demonstrate that you can pay for your living expenses, or your sponsor has to demonstrate that they can pay for your living expenses at least for 1 year. So proof of tuition fees, either payment or that you can afford to pay the tuition fees for the entire year, including 1 year of living expenses. So usually living expenses, the budget is about 10,000 to 12,000 for 1 year. So they want to see that in your bank account or in your sponsor's bank account, or whoever the sponsor is. It may be your parent, it may be a company that you're working for, it may be a benefactor, for example. So is it a scholarship? If it's a scholarship, then we need documentation with regards to the scholarship has to be put in the application package. If it is not there, definitely you can't. That means to the embassy you can't pay for your tuition fees, you can't pay for your living expenses. You will end up being a liability to Canada, and Canada doesn't want that. So you have to be able to demonstrate that as well. Number 3, you have to demonstrate that you have ties to your country. What do I mean by ties to your country? Well, you've been living in Nigeria, for example, for the past 26 years. So do you have family members there? Do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? Do you have parents there? Does the person that is coming to Canada, do they have property in their country of origin? Do they have a house? Do they have a land there? You have to be able to demonstrate ties to your country. If you are employed, a letter from your employer will be very important to put in the application package. If you're employed, you have to also get an approval letter from leave approval letter from your employer that they've granted you leave to come and study in Canada. Maybe it's for a 1 year program that they've granted you leave to come and study in Canada, and that you're expected back at your place of work by a certain date. You have to specify what date you're returning back to work. Is the job going to be still available to you? Of course, if it's going to be available to you, that means you still have ties to your country. If it's not going to be available to you, that means it's a problem. Because then what are you returning back to? Always remember, a study visa is for a temporary purpose, a temporary time period. So if you're applying for permanent residence now, that's a different matter. But when it comes to a study visa, you have to demonstrate that you will definitely return back to your country. That's why the ties is very important. Number 4, if you've traveled out of a country before, maybe it's to a neighboring country, it can be to a neighboring country. If it's to a neighboring country, demonstrate that you've gone there, you've traveled out and you've returned back to your country. Do you have proof of that? That's very, very important. If you have proof of that, in the form of your travel passport being stamped, the entry and exit and entry back to your country after your visit, you have to put those documentation in there. Your travel passport, your stamp pages, your visa pages must be in there. That's the evidence of travel history. You have to prove your application. You have to prove that you're coming to study in Canada. The visa officer is there to just look at your application and determine whether you meet the requirements to issue a visa, a study visa. Okay, so it's very important to document your application package. The 5th thing to keep in mind, you have to explain, provide a personal statement, i.e. type up the purpose of your visit, the purpose of why you're coming to Canada. Why are you coming to Canada? If it's to come and study, business or agriculture, explain to them that you're coming to study agriculture and explain why you're pursuing that program. Of what benefit is that program to you in terms of your future career? Why can't you study that kind of program in your own country? Okay, if there's valid reasons. In some countries like Nigeria, there's always strikes, school strikes, that elongates the program. So if that's the reason why you can't come and study in Canada, why you want to come and study in Canada, and you don't want to study in your country because it's going to elongate your program because of strike, there's going to be an elongation of your program because of strikes, or constant strike, explain it there. How does that program that you're coming to study in Canada, how does it complement your previous studies and your previous education? How does it complement your previous or your current employment or your previous employment experience? You have to be able to demonstrate that. What benefit is it going to be to you coming to Canada to come and study? You have to be able to demonstrate that by typing up a one pager. I always say limit to a one page. I call it personal statement. Sometimes I call it purpose of visit or letter of explanation. It's still the same thing, but make sure you explain why you're coming to Canada to study that program, of what benefit is going to be to you coming to Canada, what career opportunities lie for you when you return back to your country with that Canadian educational credential. So as you can see, there's a whole list of things you have to keep in mind when you're preparing your application package. Sometimes people, have been out of school for a number of years. Of course, the visa officer may be concerned that you're trying to immigrate to Canada, that you're not really a serious, or intending student. That that the real reason you're leaving your country where you apply for a study visa is because you want to leave your country. Okay, maybe for economic reasons. Okay, but there's a lot of people that have been out of school that have been granted visas too, for study visas. But you have to be able to demonstrate that you are a genuine student, a bona fide student, and all the things I've discussed earlier are important to demonstrating that you're a genuine student, a bona fide student. Documentations will be important. Okay, so letter of employment. If you're a business owner, okay, and you think coming to Canada to study this particular program is going to help you in terms of your business, explain it to them. Provide documentations related to your business and how this program will help your business to grow and develop. It's very, very important. Documentation is key. You have the obligation to demonstrate to the visa officer why they should approve your application. It's very, very important to put relevant documents. Don't put irrelevant documents. Don't put documents that does not help your case in your application package. So those are the critical things to keep in mind. I've talked about letter of acceptance, DALI number. I've talked about proof of funds. Even with regards to the proof of funds, you can have two or more sponsors. One may be responsible for your living expenses, the other may be responsible for your tuition fees. Make sure that this is well documented and presented to the visa officer. So the proof of funds is important. Your ties to your country is very important. Are you employed? Documentation with regards to that will be important. Do you own property or land? That's important to include. Okay. You have investment certificates. Even if you have a car too, if you own a car, include that as well. So, and of course, if you have travel history, maybe to a neighboring country or to even United States or the UK or New Zealand, any country you have, provide those documentation as part of your application package. And of course, at the end of the day, make sure you keep an exact copy of what you're submitting to the visa officer. Whether you're submitting it by paper or by online, make sure you keep an exact copy of what you're submitting. The application forms are very important. Make sure that you keep a copy of the application forms and the documentations in your personal file, so that if you're refused, you can call Olalere Law Office and we'll be happy to help you. I hope you've enjoyed today's YouTube video. If you have any questions about how to package a study visa application or have any inquiries to make with regards to study visa applications, please feel free to contact us. You can reach us on WhatsApp. It is +1 613 799 7572. Again, +1 613 799 7572. That's our WhatsApp number, and it's also our direct line. So please feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to answer your questions, at least on a consultation basis, and also represent you as well. Thank you.